Hi, I'm Tony Ruggiero, host of the Dewsweepers for over a dozen years. For a dozen years, I've had the best seat on the lesson tee here as I sat and listened to the world's greatest teachers, the world's greatest mental coaches, fitness experts, equipment experts. Anything you needed to play better golf, I was able to bring to you each and every week on PGA Tour Radio. And more importantly, all of these guests, the very best from around the world of golf, were a huge influence on me and my teaching career and shaped everything that I believe today as I help folks play better golf here in the Dewsweeper Dome. I want to take this chance now as the Dewsweepers moves on and changes shape and changes form and bring back to you some of my favorite teachers, players, and guests. And hopefully you'll enjoy this opportunity as we bring you the lessons from the legends, the best segments that I've found as I've gone back through these dozen years, and I bring them back to you in the form of this Dewsweepers podcast. I hope you'll enjoy. And if you hear something you like and you want to reach out to us, or you want to go ahead and find out more instruction and see some of our instructional videos, go to dewsweepersgolf.com. That's dewsweepersgolf.com. Or you can always find me on Instagram as The Dewsweeper or Dewsweeper Golf on Twitter. I hope you enjoy this instruction. I've enjoyed the past dozen years with you each and every week, helping each of you play better golf. Welcome back into the Dewsweepers, everybody. It is always a pleasure for me when we have this legend in the game of golf, and especially golf instruction, join us here on the Dewsweepers. And, of course, I'm talking about golf instructor, Hall of Fame member, Mr. Eddie Merrins. Eddie, how are you doing today?
Great, Tony. How are things in the South?
We're getting some warm weather finally. That's all I can say. It's not been near as nice as it has been in California.
Well, had a lot of nice things happen, though, with the Alabama Crimson Tide winning the football championship. That happened right here in our backyard.
Well, a lot of my friends all went out there and were really happy with the result.
Yeah, they should be.
Absolutely. You know, Mr. Merrins, you've taught the game of golf for a long time. You've been around the greats of the game. I know you recently went up and saw some of the Champions Tour players, but talk a little bit about how the instruction side of the game has changed over the years. And, you know, I know there's been a lot of technology advances. There's been video and all of these different things. But yet I don't know that people are necessarily playing the game any better. Would you mind talking for a little bit with me about how instruction's changed over the years and is it making people better?
If it strikes the right chord, but the right chord has to be in the mind of the player. My feeling is that word pictures are the best way to communicate a message when you're working with a student from a teacher's point of view. But in today's world, technology reigns, and if you don't have cameras to satisfy the student, they feel as though they're being somewhat cheated, like going to the dentist and not having your teeth x-rayed. But my feeling is that the technology can be overdone and too much faith put in the technology when it's not really making that little golf ball move from point A to point B, and that's what you want to know.
Absolutely. And Mr. Merrins, when you talk about, you were recently around some of the great players of the game, the Champions Tour players, and so many people love going out to watch those players because their names we're all familiar with, that we grew up with. How different is the way they play the game versus the way you see young players coming up in your area now? What are some of the things that they do better than the young players now, and what are some of the things that the young players do now that are different and better than what some of the older guys do?
Well, I was in Newport for the last round of the senior championship, the Toshiba tournament there. But what I see in today's world, they're making the golf courses longer and longer to accommodate the young players who hit the ball so far because of technology involving the club and the ball. And whereas the senior player, these great players of yesteryear who are 50 years and older, they're actually playing shorter golf courses, and they're able to score unbelievably well. So I think maybe a page could be taken on the regular tour from the senior tour, because the public enjoy seeing these great old names shooting low scores like they used to in their heyday.
Mr. Merrins, does it the fact that the golf courses are built longer because the younger guys are hitting it further and there's such a premium on distance, does it change the way that you teach folks when they come to you, guys that are coming up or girls and they're looking to develop into players and maybe play for a living? Does it change the approach that you have with them as far as making them a good player?
You just have to adjust because they're hitting the ball and in the mid-'80s, one of my UCLA players, Duffy Waldorf, for 5 years, was in the top 5 in the statistics on driving yardage on the tour. And his average drive was 278 yards. And his longest drive in that 5-year period was maybe 282. Now his average drive on the tour, and this is 20 years later, is right at 300 yards. And there must be 40 players who are hitting the ball farther than he does. And it's not because they're physically stronger, it's simply because of the combination of the club, the metal wood, and the solid ball allow them to hit it so much farther.
Do you think that the change in the groove rule will require players to have to learn how to play the game a little more like the guys that we see on the Champions Tour played? I've heard people say that they'll have to learn to hit different shots, that they won't just be able to bomb it out there and gouge it out of the rough. What's your feeling from what you've been around so far and from your experience teaching players that had to play under those types of conditions?
Well, I think they're trying to, by going with the no grooves, they're trying to put the flyer back into play. The term flyer is a golf shot that flies out of the rough when there's a foreign substance between the club face and the ball. The foreign substance can be in the form of water or other liquid or grass, but the backward spin that normally takes place is missing, and that's what you're getting now with the new groove effect. So what that really means is they're asking the player to drive the ball in the fairway instead of in the rough, so that he can spin the ball into the green. If he drives it out of the fairway, he's gonna hit the so-called flyer.
Well, I guess you would agree, it's certainly going to, with the change in the groove rule, it's going to require players that haven't really had to learn how to judge a lie. They're going to have to learn that ability in which they, some of the older players, folks that came up on the tour years ago and the guys in their 30s and stuff now into their 40s, they already have that. They've grown up having to learn how to judge a lie, and some of these younger guys have not had to understand how to do that at all.
They haven't had to. The old players used to curve the ball because the club and the ball made the ball curve right or left, and as well as spinning backward. Well, in today's world, the ball doesn't curve as much right or left, nor does it spin backward as much. It penetrates through the air more like a bullet, and actually it doesn't meet the air resistance going from A to B, so it travels that much farther.
Mr. Merrins, when you look at some of the things that have happened recently in golf, you mentioned Freddie winning 2 of his first 3 starts, and we can go back to Tom Watson coming within a short putt of winning the British Open at his age. What do you think has made some of these great players that are later on in their years able to compete with these young guys that have all this distance and have all this power?
I think it has to do with knowledge coupled with experience. And the positive player, the confident player, is one who has a combination of knowledge coupled with experience. And that makes for the confidence that he needs going forward. You take a a young player like let's say Ricky Fowler, who's the new find on the tour. Ricky's come close to winning 2 tournaments already this year. Well, he's a very talented player, and he has the brashness of youth, which means he has no hang-ups when it comes to playing golf. But he doesn't have true confidence that comes from knowledge coupled with experience, because at age 21, he's just not old enough to have gained that knowledge.
Do you think? How do you think he needs to learn from these near misses to be able to take himself to the next level and get a win?
He's going to have to go through a learning process. He's going to play very well this first year or 2 on the tour. Then he'll encounter a little bump in the road, and he'll have to look in the mirror and say to himself, now, what do I need to do in order to play the way I know I can play? And he will do that without a doubt. And at that point, he'll seek the knowledge that's necessary, and that, coupled with the experience that he's gaining at the highest level on the American tour, will give him the confidence that he needs to go on. And I dare say at age 30, he'll be a much more promising player than he is right now at age 21.
Mr. Merrins, it's always a pleasure. You know how much I enjoy sitting down to visit with you. We look forward to catching up with you real soon here on the Dewsweepers.
So do I.
All right, that's Eddie Merrins, and I'm Tony Ruggiero. The Dewsweepers Golf Show will be right back with more help for your golf game.